Echoes of Valor. The war-torn streets of a small French village reverberated with the echoes of gunfire. World War II had cast its dark shadow over the land, leaving its inhabitants fearful and weary. Among them was Marie, a brave and compassionate young woman in her early 20s. She sat inside of her house. During the middle of the day, she was dressed in worn clothing. As she peered out of her window, her eyes filled with determination. She knew she couldn't sit idly by while her town suffered under the oppressive occupation of the mutated German Dogmen soldiers. Marie had a plan, and was dead set on putting it into action. Marie exited her home and made her way to the town square to gather a group of resistance fighters, each carrying their own burden of grief and longing for freedom. It was safe to gather during the day as the German Dogmen soldiers primarily moved by night. They planned to meet in a hidden cellar beneath the village square, so that they could strategize and plan their next move. To do this, they had to wait until nightfall. The cellar was dimly lit, its stone walls echoing with whispered conversations. Marie stood before the group, her voice steady and resolute. In a composed fashion she stated, "We have the strength and the will to fight back. Our sacrifices will not be in vain. Together, we will bring hope back to our people." The resistance fighters nodded in agreement, ready to take up arms against the enemy. The resistance fighters made their way out of the cellar, down the cobblestone streets to an abandoned warehouse where they lied in wait and ambushed a convoy transporting valuable supplies for the enemy. They struck with precision, their movements swift and calculated. The Dogmen soldiers did not take the ambush laying down. They fought back with vengeance, their claws and jagged teeth killing some of the resistance fighters instantly. Gunfire erupted from their MP-40 submachine guns, filling the night air with tension and chaos. Bullets ripping through the enemy's uniforms and furry flesh, sending them all to an early grave. However, the resistance fighters suffered wounded and casualties too. The next morning Marie stood beside a wounded resistance fighter, Jean-Pierre, holding his hand as he lay on a makeshift hospital bed. She offered a comforting smile. "Marie," softly, "you fought bravely. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." The wounded fighter nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude, but also resonated with horror from the altercation of the previous night. Later that day, the village church bells rang out, signaling victory. The resistance fighters, now heroes, stood proudly in the village square, surrounded by their grateful townspeople. Marie, tearfully, "Today, we have reclaimed a piece of our freedom. But our fight is not yet over. We will press on until our land is truly liberated." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits reignited by the courage and determination of the resistance fighters. Epilogue. Marie's unwavering spirit and the bravery of the resistance fighters became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to join the fight for liberation. Their unwavering dedication contributed to the eventual triumph of the Allied forces, and the echoes of their valor would forever be etched in the history of the small French village. Note, this fictional story is set within the context of World War II and aims to capture the resilience and courage of individuals who fought against oppression. While the events and characters are fictional, they are inspired by the real stories of resistance and heroism during the war.
Shadows of Appalachia. In the dense forests of the Appalachian Mountains, a sense of unease lingered beneath the moonlit sky. Deep within the shadows, an ancient evil stirred, known only as the Skinwalkers, shapeshifters known for their ability to take the form of any animal or human they came into contact with. As the wind whispered eerie secrets through the trees, an unsuspecting young man named Ethan found himself venturing deeper into their realm. Ethan had always been fascinated by folklore and legends, often seeking thrills and exploring the unknown. Armed with his backpack and a flashlight, he followed a treacherous path that led him further away from the safety of civilization. The silence was broken only by the rustle of leaves under his cautious steps. With each passing moment, the atmosphere grew more suffocating, as if unseen eyes watched his every move. A cold shiver ran down his spine, but his curiosity drove him forward. The legends of the Skinwalkers echoed in his mind, tales of creatures that could assume the forms of their victims, blending seamlessly into the world around them. The thought lingered in the back of his mind that if he wasn't careful, that he could just as easily wind up as one of them. Suddenly, a distant howl pierced the night. Ethan's heart skipped a beat, as he noticed that along with the howl the sounds of the night seemed forced and unnatural, but he pressed on, determined to capture proof of the elusive creatures. The shadows twisted and danced, taking grotesque shapes in his periphery. He hesitated, the weight of fear settling upon him, Yet the lure of the unknown was too great to resist. As he trudged deeper into the woods, the air grew thick with an otherworldly stench. An unnatural chill clung to his skin, his sweat beating up on his brow, the hairs on the back of his neck standing up, causing his every nerve to scream for retreat. But it was too late. The Skinwalkers had already marked him as their prey. Whispers filled the air, their insidious voices seemingly coming from all directions. Panic gripped Ethan's heart, his steps quickening in a desperate attempt to escape. But the path he had followed now seemed unfamiliar, like an ever-shifting maze designed to ensnare him. In the heart of the forest, Ethan stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, its decaying wood a testament to forgotten secrets. The door creaked open, revealing a grim interior veiled in darkness. Trembling, he cautiously stepped inside, hoping to find respite from the encroaching horrors. But the cabin held no sanctuary. The air grew suffocating, and a deep, haunting growl resonated through the room. In that moment, Ethan realized the Skinwalkers had been toying with him all along. Their shape-shifting abilities made it impossible to discern friend from foe, and he was now trapped within their lair. His flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls as figures emerged from the darkness. Eyes glinting with malevolence, they closed in on Ethan, their forms twisting and contorting in a grotesque display. He heard the voice of a young woman coming from the back room of the cabin. "Fear not, weary traveler, have a seat at the table and I'll prepare you a glass of tea." Ethan motioned his flashlight around where he saw the table, and on it was an old kerosene lantern. As he sat down, he pulled his backpack around, dug through it till he found a box of matches. Striking a match, he lit the lantern, and from the back room of the cabin a beautiful young woman emerged, dressed only in nighttime attire. Ethan looked to her and asked, "What are you doing sitting around by yourself in a cabin with no lights?" The woman smiled, replying, "This is my home, I was resting for its night time. I could just as easily ask you what you are doing wandering around these mountain woods at night, breaking and entering into people's homes." The woman made her way to some cabinets, retrieved a glass, opened the fridge and poured Ethan a glass of tea, handing it to him. Her face was blank without emotion. As Ethan accepted the glass, he couldn't help but notice her chest heaving up and down, as if she was out of breath, and as he looked to her eyes, he noticed that they were glowing red. Paralyzed by fear, he could do nothing but witness his inevitable demise. The Skinwalker struck with ruthless precision, her razor-sharp claws tearing through flesh and bone. Ethan's agonized screams merged with the haunting howls of his assailant, his existence extinguished in a gruesome display of violence. The Appalachian Mountains claimed another victim that night, another tale lost in the depths of their haunted forests. The legend of the Skinwalkers lived on, a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows, forever waiting to claim those who dare to seek them out.
Beyond the celestial veil. In a quiet town nestled amidst rolling hills, a man named David lived his life as a subpar lackluster beat cop, who was unseemingly one write-up away from being kicked off the force. He had tried several times to pass the detective's exam, but failed every time he took it. Even if he had passed it, his poor record as a street cop would have prevented him from getting the position anyway. One fateful night, after going on bender, his ordinary existence took an extraordinary turn when he was abducted by beings not of this world. Awakening in a sterile room aboard an alien spacecraft, David found himself surrounded by enigmatic creatures with luminous eyes and elongated limbs. Fear coursed through his veins, but their gentle gestures assured him he was not their enemy. They communicated through telepathy, revealing that they had chosen him for a unique purpose. The aliens, known as the Zaladrians, were fascinated by human potential and sought to aid mankind in their own enigmatic way. Their advanced technology allowed them to bestow upon David a gift, the ability to manifest supernatural powers. It was a chance to use his newfound abilities to solve crimes and bring justice to the world. Back on Earth, David discovered that his powers went beyond his imagination. With a single thought, he could read the thoughts of others, unravel mysteries hidden in the fabric of reality, and manipulate energy to his will. Knowing he would never graduate to anything more than street cop, he turned in his badge and moved to another city where he became a vigilante private investigator, using his extraordinary abilities to aid the authorities in solving perplexing cases that had stumped conventional methods. Word of the mysterious crime solver with supernatural powers spread like wildfire. The people hailed him as a guardian angel, a beacon of hope in a world plagued by darkness. The criminals, however, feared him. They soon realized that their malevolent deeds would no longer go unpunished. David's encounters with criminals were not without danger. His powers, while formidable, pushed the boundaries of his mortal limits. Each time he unraveled a mystery, he grew weaker, drained by the sheer magnitude of his extraordinary talents. But he pressed on, knowing that his purpose went beyond personal safety. As David delved deeper into the criminal underworld, he unearthed a web of corruption that extended far beyond what he could have imagined. Powerful figures with hidden agendas sought to exploit his abilities for their own gain, posing a threat not only to him but to the delicate balance of justice he sought to uphold. With his Zaladrian's guidance, David navigated the treacherous waters of deception and conspiracy. His unwavering determination and unwavering sense of justice allowed him to stay one step ahead of those who sought to control him. He formed unlikely alliances with low-level drug dealers and smugglers, drawing strength from the bonds forged in the crucible of adversity. As he fought to bring down the criminal syndicate, David never lost sight of the essence of his mission, to protect the innocent and ensure that the guilty faced their reckoning. His supernatural powers became a symbol of hope for a world yearning for justice, and his tireless pursuit of truth brought light to the darkest corners of society. In the end, David's extraordinary journey as a crime-solving hero shaped not only the lives he touched but also his own. He discovered that true power lies not in the supernatural abilities bestowed upon him but in the unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of humanity. And so, with each solved crime, David not only unraveled the mysteries that plagued his world but also kindled a flame of hope, reminding everyone that even in the face of darkness, justice would prevail.
Azazel unleashed a tale of the demonic. Once upon a time, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, lived a young couple named Emma and Michael. They were adventurous souls always seeking excitement and thrills. One stormy night, as raindrops tapped against their windows, they found themselves yearning for a spine-chilling experience. Little did they know that their curiosity would lead them down a path of unimaginable horror. In the depths of their attic, among forgotten relics, they discovered an old Ouija board. Its worn letters and mysterious aura intrigued them. Emma and Michael decided to give it a try, hoping to communicate with spirits from beyond, maybe even getting into contact with deceased family members. They dimmed the lights, lit a few candles, and placed their trembling fingers on the planchette. As Michael placed his hands atop of Emma's cold, pale, trembling fingers, she looked to him, her eyes filled with uncertainty. The first series of questions that they asked were simple and innocent enough, questions like if anyone else was in the room with them, if the spirits they were contacting were good or evil. The planchette seemed to move of its own accord, gliding from letter to letter across the board, revealing its answers to them. Emma and Michael exchanged bewildered glances, both thinking the other was manipulating it. But soon, the messages spelled out on the board became darker and more menacing. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy with an unseen presence. Suddenly, the planchette darted across the board, spelling out a name, Azazel. A shiver ran down their spines as they realized they had unknowingly invited an evil entity into their lives. The room turned frigid, and the candles flickered ominously. Emma ripped her hand away from the board and planchette, and yelled at Michael, "Stop it. That's enough, that wasn't very cute or funny, Michael. Where did you even come up with a name like that?" Michael shrugged, replying, "That wasn't me, babe, I swear. I thought I was following your lead." Emma shook her head frantically, and continued to motion for Michael to put the board and candles away. That night, the couple retired to bed, plagued by a sense of unease. The once peaceful house became a breeding ground for inexplicable occurrences. Objects moved on their own. The couple was first awakened by the alarm clock being wiped off the nightstand, crashing down onto the floor. As Michael reached down off the bed to pick it up, eerie whispers echoed through the hallways, and a malevolent presence lurked in every corner. Emma and Michael were now trapped in a waking nightmare. Each night brought new terrors. They would wake up to blood-curdling screams echoing through the house, their belongings mysteriously rearranged, and grotesque apparitions hovering at the foot of their bed. One night in particular, Michael was ripped off of the bed, while Emma was pinned down to it, with a hot heavy breath of rotted flesh hissing in her ear that the two of them now belonged to the powerful Azazel. Michael tried to rush to his wife's aid but was pulled out of the room against his will as his wife's body was ravaged by the demon. Sleep became elusive, and their once happy lives were consumed by fear and exhaustion. Desperate for a solution, Emma and Michael sought the help of a renowned paranormal investigator, Dr. Gabriel Nightshade. Together, they delved into the history of the Ouija board and discovered the dark past of Azazel. The demon had been imprisoned within the board centuries ago for its insatiable thirst for human souls. By using the board, Emma and Michael had unknowingly unleashed its wrath. Armed with this knowledge, the paranormal investigator devised a plan to rid their home of the malevolent entity. With ancient rituals like smudging the home with sage, spreading salt around the perimeter of the home, and protective talismans, they faced the demon head-on, determined to reclaim their sanctuary. The battle between good and evil raged within their home. Waves of honorific screams and smells plunged throughout the home. Each inhabitant of the dwelling physically attacked at some point during the ritual, their courage tested to the limits. After a harrowing confrontation, Azazel was banished back to the depths from whence it came. Emma and Michael's home was finally free from its clutches. They embraced each other, grateful to have survived the ordeal and promising to never dabble with forces beyond their understanding again. Though scarred by the haunting experiences, they vowed to cherish the tranquility that life offered and to appreciate the precious moments spent in the safety of their now demon-free home. All looked like it was going to turn out fine until Emma became aware that she was pregnant, which made no sense to either of the two because Michael was sterile and couldn't have children, and the couple's darkest fears had now become a reality. When Azazel raped Emma, he had impregnated her with his demonic seed, a burden that was now Emma and Michael's to bear. And so, their tale serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lie within the unknown, urging others to tread cautiously when toying with the supernatural.